We have a ton of big stories in today's video in regards to AEW. As always, timestamps in the description down below. We're going to kick things off talking about Shawn Spears. And yes, we got to talk about it because Shawn Spears is not on AEW television. People are wondering what is going on. And it didn't help that Shawn Spears tweeted and deleted a goodbye GIF on Twitter. Now, of course, this got a lot of people talking because kind of seemed like a subtle hint that maybe Shawn Spears could be on his way out of AEW. Now, obviously, one thing that we really have to talk about here is that we don't really know the contract situation for Shawn Spears in AEW. So I don't want to assume that he's locked into a contract. I don't want to assume that he's on per appearance because there's really not much public knowledge here. Obviously, we know that his wife is pregnant. He's expected to be a father soon. So that is obviously great news for Shawn Spears. But when covering wrestling, I feel like it is important to mention that, posting a goodbye GIF could very well signal that you're on the way out of the company. Now, of course, this comes at a time where AEW, who is currently not using Shawn Spears, also has a very bloated roster. And it appears to me that AEW is kind of like WWE, right? People aren't going to be used and eventually they'll have to go. So it just kind of sucks. That's the way it is. And I think a lot of people looked at AEW as being different than WWE in that regard. That doesn't necessarily look to be true. I feel like it's unfortunate. I know not a lot of people will agree with me here based on previous videos where I've talked about this, but I think Shawn Spears really had a pretty high ceiling in AEW. And I feel like when he first came into AEW, bringing him in with Tully Blanchard, it just seemed like I saw the vision. And I guess I saw a vision that maybe Tony Khan didn't see because they didn't really go anywhere with it. And it's unfortunate. I thought the presentation, I thought everything there was really cool. And just, as time went on, it appears that he wasn't a big focus. But this also comes at a time where things get interesting with Sammy Guevara. You may have heard of the news about Sammy Guevara and Andrade shooting each other some shots, taking shots at each other on Twitter. And of course, when Shawn Spears put out the tweet of the goodbye GIF, Sammy Guevara put out a tweet, "You are a jobber, a favor hire, be grateful, bitch." And that was something that Sammy Guevara put out, and a lot of people thought it was in regards to Shawn Spears, especially because of the part where he is, a favor hire. Obviously, we all know that Shawn Spears kind of got in an interesting way. But look, here's the thing. Sammy Guevara, he doesn't like AEW drama, but for some reason, he's part of it all. And I feel like it's really important to talk about this Andrade Sammy Guevara stuff because, truth be told, I think there's a lot of people who don't understand what is happening here. Is it a work? Is it shoot? And, here's the thing, and I'm just going to be flat out honest. After AEW All Out, CM Punk and the Elite and everything that went down there, I noticed that AEW got better television. And it didn't involve CM Punk and it didn't involve the Elite. It didn't involve the drama. And, I just feel like if AEW is trying to blur the lines between, shoots and works, like, I don't think it's going to be beneficial to them. I don't, because I think right now what they're doing on television is compelling. And I say this often, and I get it. You guys will keep writing your comments. Ango hates AEW. Ango hates AEW. But really what it comes down to is this. The last few weeks we saw great television, and none of that had to do with the fact that there was drama on Twitter. All of that good television came from good storytelling. When AEW does storytelling, they are very, very good. When they are focused on stories getting from A to Z, they are freaking really good at it. So what would be the purpose of blurring the lines here? What would be the point of working people between Andrade? Is it because AEW wants to build up Rampage? Because if it is, I'm sorry, but Sammy Guevara and Andrade, they're not two guys that are going to get me to tune into Rampage just to see if Andrade loses to number 10. I'm just being honest. Rampage and Dynamite, they're two different levels of shows. It is very clear that Rampage takes a back seat. I don't think drama is good for AEW. I think fans are extremely turned off by it. And honestly, I am turned off by it too. I like when AEW is focused on stories. Creating stories on Twitter is just pointless in my opinion. I really do think it's pointless. This is not the UFC. You don't have wrestlers on your roster fighting for $10,000 on a fight night in hopes that they get a big performance, a bonus, and then take a post-fight promo and call out a big name, because in the UFC, you need those big time feuds and you need that to kind of build your superstardom. In wrestling, Tony Khan has the power to book their wrestlers however they choose. And if you just suck at booking them, you don't really need to go on Twitter to make a name known for yourself. So I know a lot of people will disagree with me here, but I think the drama needs to go away. AEW needs to just keep doing what they're doing. Sammy Guevara and Andrade, very, very interesting stuff. They're trading back and forth on Twitter. It's just ridiculous. And to be honest, I don't think it's a good look. I think it's not a good look for Sammy Guevara either way. This kid has a lot of talent, and I just feel like more people are talking about Sammy Guevara and the drama associated with him versus his skills. And it's unfortunate. And that's why I'm hoping this is not a work, because realistically, I don't see like why you would do it. I just think it's pointless. Some really good news for AEW though. It appears that Bandito could be very well headed to AEW. While it's not been officially announced that he has signed with AEW, it appears that Bandito has actually agreed to terms with AEW. This came from a new report coming from Fightful Select that reported Bandito has agreed to terms with AEW. There's no exact word if he's officially signed on the dotted line, but the idea that he's agreed to terms pretty much indicates that he will be All Elite very soon. And I'm actually very excited about this news. If you guys saw my videos talking about him being offered a contract, then I was very, very excited about Bandito going to AEW. A lot of people have been also talking about whether or not Triple H was interested in bringing him in, and I still don't know exactly if WWE and Triple H had made a formal offer. But if you're a wrestling company and it's 2022, my question is, how are you not interested in Bandito? Bandito's great, but I'm going to raise the same concern I brought in my last video when talking about Bandito. It's up to AEW to make Bandito feel like a big deal. So you sign him, great. You put him on TV, great. But if you take him off TV, if he's not consistently there, if he's not consistently in storylines, kind of like Andrade, I just think it's going to be a very, very bad situation for AEW, and I hope that's not the case. I want to see AEW do good, and I want to see guys that I enjoy watching wrestle. I actually want to see them on TV. It's not too much to ask for. I understand that you got a bloated roster. Don't create the problems that you don't need to create. Very, very simple. But I like Bandito. I think he's actually going to fit very well in AEW compared to WWE as well. So I just look forward to seeing him in AEW and see what happens. And let me know what you guys think. Honestly, this is a very interesting time period for AEW because there's still a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that appears to be chaotic. But right now, their television product is really good, and I like that a lot. So let me know what you guys think down below.